In 2015, Spain's defence budget sank to just 0.92% of gross domestic product, one of the lowest in NATO. Decaying fleets and idle factories told a story of steady decline. After Russia's 2022 invasion of Ukraine, everything changed. Suddenly, Spain is mounting an unexpected military comeback. What triggered this transformation? And what are the stakes if it fails? After the 2008 financial crisis, Spain's defence establishment entered a period of steady contraction. Budgets were tightened, units were scaled back, and long-term modernisation plans were postponed. Parliamentary records from the early part of the decade after 2010 show deliberate budget cuts, with spending falling to just 0.92% of gross domestic product by 2015. That made Spain one of the lowest contributors in NATO, and the effects rippled across every branch. Flight hours for Air Force pilots dropped, naval crews saw their sea days curtailed, and routine maintenance was deferred. Shipyards like Navantia, once bustling with orders, faced layoffs and idle slipways. A retired officer recalled that they had platforms but not the flight hours, spares or upgrades to keep them current. The S-80 submarine program, meant to be a symbol of technological ambition, stalled after a costly design flaw. Political debates and defence white papers from this era show a clear choice. Fiscal restraints took precedence over military readiness. By the middle of the decade after 2010, Spain's armed forces stood at their weakest in decades. On February 24, 2022, Russian forces crossed into Ukraine. Within hours, Spain's National Security Council convened an emergency meeting in Madrid, a moment of shock that forced a complete rethink of defence priorities. Intelligence briefings circulated through the ministries, outlining the scale of the attack and the vulnerabilities exposed across Europe. The Council issued a rare public communiqué, announcing that Spain would recalibrate its defence posture and accelerate investment to address the new threat landscape. The Ministry of Defence received direct orders to reassess capabilities and identify urgent gaps. Parliamentary transcripts from early March record Prime Minister Sanchez describing a new European security context and stressing the imperative to urgently modernise and reinforce our armed forces. Defence Minister Robles echoed those concerns, drawing lessons from Ukraine and warning against the cost of unpreparedness. By the end of that week, the government had formally committed to a rapid review of military readiness, ending a decade of austerity and launching a sweeping policy reset. Budget surge. Spain's defence budget has surged by more than 70% since 2020, reversing a decade of decline with a level of urgency not seen in recent memory. Parliamentary votes in 2023 and 2024 authorised exceptional credit lines, bringing the annual defence allocation to €23 billion and setting the stage for an even larger boost in 2025. Spanish industry, a dedicated €13 billion modernisation fund spread between 2023 and 2026 is earmarked for fleet upgrades, aerospace innovation and digital infrastructure. According to the Ministry of Defence, nearly 90% of these new resources are directed to Spanish industry, supporting jobs and technology across the country. Transparency. The government's public pledge to reach NATO's 2% of GDP target by 2030, potentially as early as 2025, has been written into national budget law, with oversight from parliamentary committees and independent auditors. A spokesperson for the ministry described the approach as disciplined, transparent, and focused on both deterrence and industrial renewal. Every euro is tracked through a checklist of modernisation programmes, with spending breakdowns published for public scrutiny and citation. This financial commitment underpins the next phase, a wave of new ships, aircraft, and advanced systems that will redefine Spain's military capabilities. Steel began cutting for the F-110 frigates at Navantia's Ferrol Yard in 2022. The project restart brought a familiar face back to the floor, Juan Garcia, once laid off during the austerity years. Now he supervises a team assembling the new hull blocks, training younger workers who have never seen the slipways so busy. Navantia's order books are full again, with the F-110 program supporting thousands of jobs across Galicia and beyond. Each frigate comes equipped with Spanish-designed combat systems, the latest SPY-7 radar, and modular digital architecture, making them a centerpiece for NATO operations in the Mediterranean. Cartagena saw the S-80 Plus submarine line finally overcome its troubled past. Engineers resolved the infamous buoyancy flaw, and the first hulls are passing sea trials, equipped with air-independent propulsion for weeks-long patrols. The Air Force is also seeing rapid upgrades. Eurofighter jets are now fitted with AESA radars and new avionics, while Spanish aerospace firms have secured a stake in the Future Combat Air System, a sixth-generation fighter project with France and Germany. Above, the Spanish Space Command, launched in 2023, is already coordinating defense satellites and providing secure communications for joint missions. For workers like Garcia, the transformation is more than numbers. Back then, the yards were silent. Now he trains new hires and sees our ships leave for NATO missions. Spanish warships and aircraft are now regular fixtures in the Mediterranean and the Atlantic, leading drills that test new hardware and the logistics backbone that supports it. During Flotex 2023, Spanish frigates, including the upgraded Cristobal Colon, coordinated anti-submarine and air defense maneuvers with Allied fleets near the Canary Islands. The S-80 Plus submarine joined multinational task groups for the first time, while NH-90 helicopters and modernized Eurofighters operated out of Gando Air Base during Ocean Sky 2023. Rota Naval Base handled over 380 Allied ship movements last year, serving as a launch pad for Steadfast Defender 2024. These exercises showcase not just new platforms, but also Spain's growing role as a logistics hub and command centre for NATO's southern operations. Cross-decking with French and Italian carriers, shared intelligence, surveillance and reconnaissance networks, and joint sustainment agreements now tie Spain's forces to its closest allies. Yet independent analysts at the Elcano Royal Institute caution, while integration has advanced, that Spain's munitions stockpiles and logistics depth remain below NATO's recommended autonomy. Long-term prominence will depend on sustained investment and procurement discipline. Today, Spain's shipyards and runways are busy again. As Europe's security order shifts, Spain isn't just catching up, it's helping set the pace. The comeback is no longer quiet.